Hello and welcome to today's daily news analysis. My name is Rajat and today we will be discussing important news articles from UPSC perspective. The important news articles for today are number 1, India as a bridge power. Number 2, India and FTA trade deal. Number 3, Article 200 and the role of governor. Number 4, India, France and artificial intelligence in the context of the AI summit. And number 5, it is the budget provision for science, technology and innovation. So let's start with the discussion. The first article for the day is Global South in India, and to be specific, the article is India as a bridge power. What is this bridge? Bridge between global north and global south. What does that mean? That is, India will not be exclusive to any one group and it will act as a bridge, bridging the gaps and the differences between different groups of the countries. So, India seeks to bridge the global north and south through inclusive governance and strategic partnerships. So, this is the context. So, this is a contemporary theme. And it forms part of India's rise as global power. And this forms part of GS2 international relations. Now we have mentioned the previous year questions, do try to attempt it. The long sustained image of India as a leader of the oppressed and marginalized nations has disappeared on account of its newfound role in emerging global order. So this question tries to criticize India's new role. Earlier, India was seen as a champion of global south, and examples such as NAM, where India was anti-West. But today, India is not seen as anti-West. So it tries to analyze the arguments along those lines. And India today is non-West, not anti-West. So these are certain terms which kind of make your answers more precise and your arguments also more precise. So do use these things. Next, we start with the context of the news. That is, Prime Minister Modi emphasized efforts of India to amplify the voices of Global South. India has organized 3 Voice of Global South Summit. Global South, countries of the Global South, their voices have been marginalized. They are not part of the major multilateral institutions. So their views are not reflected in the decisions. So as to their aspiration, their views, their problems be reflected in the global fora, India organized Voice of Global South Summit before G20. And after that, subsequently, India is organizing Voice of Global South Summit. And India aspires to be the leader of Global South. And on Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, again, the Prime Minister highlighted India's motivations and India's efforts to help the developing countries. And again, here we have mentioned the 3rd Voice of Global South Summit. And in this particular summit, the Prime Minister emphasized on global governance reforms. What will these reforms do? These reforms will create space and expand the membership to the countries of Global South. And this eventually will lead to more countries participating and the global governance structure becoming more inclusive. Now, here we are trying to compare India's role when it was part of non-aligned movement and today. Earlier also, India was a champion of Global South, but then our approach was different and today our approach is different. This is what the previous year question was also trying to ask. So use this content to write that previous year question. So the core motivation as one of the parameters here to differentiate between NAM and the India's current approach. NAM earlier was driven by decolonization, but the current approach is focused on inclusive global order stance on the West, the second parameter here, NAM was critical of Western influence. India was critical to West and sought to limit dependency on Western institutions. But now India engages both. India has close partnerships with US, EU as well as Africa. India is member of SCO, plus India is also member of Quad, G20. So this shows India's unique stance and unique position in the global hierarchy. Again, continuing with the comparison between NAM and India's current approach, the engagement strategy. NAM avoided formal alliances, but now India actively partners with major powers like US and Europe. And we have shed the hesitations of history. Then the economic model. NAM countries focused on self-reliance, reducing Western economic dependency. But India now promotes benefits from global trade and investment. Now we are one of the champions of free trade and globalization. Global North versus South, just a conceptual framework so that we know which countries are in Global South and which are not in Global South. So Global North consists of industrialized and wealthier nations like US, Europe, Japan and Canada. Global South, it includes developing nations like Africa, Asia and Latin America. In these continents, the countries are from Global South. And there is a fictional line called the Brandt line. This is an imaginary line separating the wealthy North from the poorer South, emphasizing global economic inequality. So do use this map, and Brandt line can directly be asked in prelims, saying that what is Brandt line and it is related to which of the following. Then reasons behind India's new approach. Why is India trying to act as a bridge power? Why is it trying to reconcile the differences between the Global North and the Global South? And why India is uniquely placed in a position to negotiate the both sides? So first, as always discussed, the rise of China is the context, and India is competing with China on economic footprint in Africa and Indo-Pacific, and specifically here India needs to have better relations so that China does not have an upper edge. Now, China is not the only factor. Rather, India has its own unique interests, and these interests make India to participate aggressively in Global South and also negotiate between Global South and Global North. For example, just to say, the countries of Global South are rich in resources, just like cobalt, iron, rare earths. So Global South countries are rich. Countries of Global North have capital, have advanced technology. So we need both. We need technology from Global North and we need resources, that is natural resources, from Global South. So we need to develop good relations with both set of countries. So this is the rationale now. Reforming global governance. So India wants the global governance structure to be reformed, and in that India will require support of countries of Global South as well and Global North. Global South has the population, has the mandate, has the legitimacy, and Global North has the capability. So bridging between these two blocks will again make it possible that global governance reforms are carried out. So reforming global governance, India seeks greater role in international institutions, aims to reshape global economic and political frameworks. Championing Global South interest boosts India's credibility as a development leader. And the third point is expanding economic and strategic interest. India's trade, defense and geopolitical ambitions require deeper engagements with both Strengthening Global South cooperation is key to allow India to emerge as a development partner and a regional partner, just what we discussed. Then the article here mentions 3 strategies. What are the steps required that India should keep in mind while promoting its engagement with Global South and Global North? And specifically, we need to be sensitive about Global South's countries' own vulnerabilities. So here we see alternate development model. The article suggests that India should follow an alternate development model. Alternate to what? Alternate to Chinese development model, which is based on checkbook diplomacy, also called as debt trap diplomacy. Similarly, what is the alternate model? Again, here is of the West, which is through IMF, World Bank, where adjustments and reforms are to be carried out in return for loan. So both of these models of development put immense stress on the developing country. So here we have an alternate model which India will champion, which is not top down, it is bottom up, and it prefers equal partnerships with the countries. Here one can also mention Kampala principles. These can be used as a value addition. Kampala principles. These are principles which outline India's development partnership with the countries of Global South. Strengthening human-centric development. Shift focus from short-term initiatives of ITEC. ITEC currently has short-term initiatives and very narrow in scope. So we have to expand its scope and also build institutions in countries of Global South so that their own capacity building can be facilitated. And encourage, for example, as India is experimenting with Skill India, women-led entrepreneurship, we should also propagate these ideas to the other countries of Global South. Apart from this, India should not only be seen as a country which is exporting its capacity, exporting its know-how, knowledge. Rather, India should also see what it can learn from these countries of Global South. Countries of Global South have immense developmental challenges. What can we as a country learn from these challenges and implement the solutions in India? So we should not be more India-centric in our mindset and approach towards the world. Rather, we should be open-minded. If we will be open-minded, we will have the scope of learning from the other countries as well. So next, the third strategy mentioned in the article is advocating global governance, inclusive global governance. This is related to reforms. Reforms of major multilateral institutions such as UN and also multilateral development banks such as World Bank, IMF. And India has led the way here because in G20 presidency, India extended the membership to African Union, which is an reform in the membership criteria. So here we have then other things as if India should push for reforms, use partnerships with UN, Germany and France as a stepping stone while building its own global initiatives. Because Germany and France have a history of developmental relations. So India can learn from Germany and France what are the better models to propagate more developmental partnerships and strengthen trilateral partnerships. One should have examples about trilateral partnerships such as India, Japan together in Sri Lanka. Here we are investing in infrastructure projects. Similarly, India and Russia in Bangladesh. Here we are trying to build a power plant. So along with the ideas, also use such examples. Here we have a practice question in the end. How is India positioning itself as a bridge between Global North and Global South? Discuss its role in advocating for a more inclusive global governance structure. Now we will move to the next article. Starting with the next article, which is revolving around India-EFTA trade agreement, which is officially called TEPA. officially called TEPA. Why is this in news? Recently, an EFTA desk was established so as to facilitate companies to trade better with the EFTA countries, and this is to take advantage of the trade deal which was signed last year in March. So this is the context of the news. The article mentions certain benefits and factual details about what is EFTA, what are the EFTA countries, what is the trade deal, what are the thorny issues between these two what are the thorny issues between these two constituents. Now, it is relevant from international relations and Indian economy as well. And what are the nature and the trade pattern between these two trading constituents is also important. So, here certain factual information about EFTA. EFTA is an intergovernmental organization set up in 1960 for the promotion of free trade and economic integration for the benefit of its 4 member states. The countries under EFTA are Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway and Switzerland. Significance of IFTA industries. So, simply putting it in simple words, that is, these countries have advanced technology. They have access to technologies in areas like precision engineering, renewable energy, pharmaceuticals and financial services. These key industries are important for any innovation driven economy. And importance of EFTA for India is sustainability efforts, because there are companies in these countries which India can benefit from, technological advancement and investment. Then the value addition points can be, one is the official name which we have already discussed. Then second is the EFTA members, which again we have discussed. Third is the trade gap. The trade gap is in favor of EFTA countries. Fine. And the largest trading partner is Switzerland and then Norway. Then we can say that India is 5th largest trading partner of the EFTA countries. Then we will discuss about certain thorny issues which were part of the India-EFTA trade deal, and they have been in news repeatedly. The first is data exclusivity. Second is sensitive farm products. Then third is gold imports. So these 3 things have been kept out of the trade deal. And another thing to be mentioned is the commitment made by the EFTA countries is $100 billion in the next 15 years, and also to create 1 million jobs. And this is binding on companies of Switzerland. This is not a sovereign commitment. This is not the commitment by the government of these 4 countries. Rather, it is a commitment for the companies there to invest $100 billion in next 15 years. And in case if this commitment is not kept, then what? Then the easy market access given to these countries will be taken off. Here we have mentioned for certain benefits, that is reduced tariff, ease of customs, intellectual property protections. Here you can use data exclusivity as an exception. What is data exclusivity? So, generic medicines are made on the data available on human clinical trials. So this data is part of intellectual property. Countries like Switzerland, they do not have natural resources like land, water. So they focus on resources like intellectual property rights. So these countries like Norway and Switzerland, they have many pharma and biotechnology companies. So these companies are apprehensive of the generic medicine and pharma industry of India. So in that, these countries wanted data exclusivity, that is, the data of the human clinical trials would not be shared with the generic medicine companies for certain years. So this has been kept out because public health is an important concern for India, and generic medicines forms an important thorny issue, but it is also important for public health. So that is why this was kept out. Here we have again mentioned about the details of the trade deal, and these are: EFTA aims to boost FDI in India by US 100 billion over next 15 years and create 1 million direct jobs through investments. Legal commitment has been made about promoting target oriented investment and creation of jobs. The agreement will boost Make in India and provide opportunities for young and talented workforce. Here we have a practice question. Do attempt this and let us know in the comment box below. Now the third article, which is related to Article 200. This finds relevance in Indian polity, and to be specific to the topic of federalism, center-state relations, and here specifically on the office of governor. Article 200 can also be used directly in mains answer writing as one of the current issues between center and states, and you can mention states such as Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Punjab. And the way in which Article 200 has been used is a classical case of party politics impacting India's federal structure. These states have moved to Supreme Court and they have asked the Supreme Court's intervention in the governor withholding assent to bills passed by the state legislature indefinitely, and there is no particular time limit mentioned in the constitution up till which the governor can withhold assent. So Article 200 becomes important in this context, and it is also part of the static, so integrating the current affairs with the static part. So what is the background of the news? Currently the bench was hearing petition filed by Tamil Nadu government challenging the governor's decision to withhold assent to certain bills and forward some to the president. Views by the court said the state would know what objection need to be looked into if the reasons for withholding assents are communicated to. So this can become part of your mains suggestions way forward, that is, the governor should state the reasons as to why is he either withholding assent or reserving the bill for the consideration of president. What does the Article 200 of the Indian Constitution outline? So the article says what is the power of the governor in case if the bill passed by the legislative assembly is placed before the governor. First of all, there is an option that the governor may give assent. Second, the governor might withhold assent. The governor might resend the bill to the state legislature for reconsidering. Fourth, may reserve the bill for the consideration of president. However, it should be noticed that if the bill in question endangers the position of High Court, then it is mandatory. The article of the Constitution says the governor shall reserve. So, in cases where the bill compromises the position of the High Court, in that case, the governor has to reserve that bill for the consideration of the president. Else, it is not mandatory. The governor, even though, can reserve the bill. And here there are certain cases like fundamental rights, DPSPs, where the governor has seen to be reserving the bill for the president. And in case if the bill has been reserved for president, then governor subsequently has no role in the process. This reserved bill, if the president takes a look, is then resent back to the state legislative assembly, and from there, in case the state legislative assembly again makes some modification or passes it as so, it will then again be sent to the president, and if president gives assent to the bill again, the bill becomes law. So the governor is bypassed. The second thing to be noticed is, if the governor resends the bill for the reconsideration of state legislative assembly, then in that case, if the state legislative assembly, number one, passes it without modification, second, amends it and then passes, here the governor will mandatorily have to give assent. So here there is no scope of discretion. But in withholding assent, the constitutional says as soon as possible the governor can pass it on or reconsider it for the state legislature. But as soon as is not a quantifiable timeline. So there is no particular timeline given in the constitution, and this situational discretion is being used by the governor. So this was the topic, and here we have again dealt in a bit of detail, that is returning the bill for reconsideration. Here the governor will have to give assent and reserve the bill for president assent. If the bill is contrary to the constitution and affects power of the High Court or contradicts central laws, the governor may reserve it for the president. In case of High Court, it is mandatory. In case it may contradict central law, then it is up to the governor. And here one of the laws was the NEET bill passed by Tamil Nadu government. Here we have mentioned a practice question. Do attempt this and let us know the answer in the comment box below. The fourth article of the day is India, France and AI. There is going to be an AI summit in France, and the Prime Minister is in France for participation in the summit. So this makes the bilateral relations between India and France and the AI diplomacy an important theme for us. What are the important themes? The AI diplomacy and India-France relation. The article, the landscape of the article is such that initially it mentions about India's special relationship with France. Then after that, role of AI as a diplomacy tool and how is it becoming important. We have seen that the article mentions certain multilateral institutions like GPI, which is Global Partnership for Artificial Intelligence. Then it mentions the Bletchley Declaration. Then it mentions the Seoul Declaration. And afterwards, it also highlights how technology is becoming more important. So this is the landscape and how India is also investing in its own AI mission. So let's start with the article. India and France's historical strategic relationship. So historic ties based on strategic autonomy. So France is one of those countries which understands and respects India's stance on strategic autonomy. EU as a multilateral organization, and EU foreign policy is dictated by US's foreign policy priorities, and among EU, France is one of the countries which advocates autonomy of EU's foreign policy. So that is why we see convergence between France's national priorities and India's national priorities. And how can we prove this, that France understands India's strategic autonomy, is that France did not impose sanction after India's nuclear test. And in 1976, the President Chirac attended Republic Day during the emergency period. During the emergency period, India was being criticized for decline in democratic capital, and the West was particularly critical of India. But even during that time, France's president visited India, and that during Republic Day. And it was in 1998, the then President of France called the relationship between India and France as the partnership for 21st century. And now we are also seeing that relationship between these two countries is transversing into new domains such as AI. So here we have mentioned a few examples where India and France are already cooperating, and defense cooperation is one of the central feature of the relationship. So here we see purchase of Rafale fighters from the company called Dassault. Then we see P-75 India's program where Scorpene class submarine. These are diesel electric submarine. Then annual defense dialogue and high committee on defense cooperation. So there is an annual institutional mechanism for collaboration on the defense things. Then collaboration of next generation fighter plane engines. This will have co-development as one of the features. Then technology and energy cooperation specifically nuclear. So DRDO has recently opened its office in Indian Embassy in France in 2023. Joint working groups are in place in renewable energy, critical minerals, defense, startups and advanced manufacturing. And India also participating in ITER, which is a prototype of a fusion reactor, and in which France is also an important stakeholder. So this highlights how relationship between India and France is along many lines. Now focusing upon the AI summit. The Paris summit will build upon the previous AI summits, such as here they have mentioned the UK summit which happened in Bletchley Park. Also it had a declaration called Bletchley Declaration, and the Bletchley Declaration affirmed that AI should be safe, human-centric, trustworthy and responsible. Then there was Seoul summit. It was in May 2024. It proposed a network of AI safety institutes. So you can keep these things in mind. For example, here principles were affirmed in Bletchley Declaration, whereas in the Seoul summit we see a network of AI safety institute has been a network of AI safety institutes has been proposed. Then it says that there are 5 important themes of Paris AI Summit, this being public interest AI, future of work. AI will definitely impact the work. It will impact the jobs. So what are the jobs of the future? How should we invest? How should we upskill and upgrade the workers? Then we see innovation and culture. How will AI impact innovation? So this is an important theme, whereas plagiarism is one of the criticisms of AI. Then trust in AI, biasness in AI system. Then global AI governance, how to govern, because the MNCs are in control of AI. The state-led AI programs are in nascent stage, and the companies are not accountable to any one particular democratic institution. So now it is said that there should be a global governance architecture so that the MNCs can be governed, because MNCs have data centers in one location and processing facilities somewhere else. So it is beyond the jurisdiction of any one country. Then India at the AI Summit. India will be co-chairing the summit, recognizing India's AI advancements and responsible approach. So it also has a platform for global AI governance. Focus will be on inclusivity, responsibility, and equitable AI development, because we see that AI development is not equal throughout the globe. There are few countries which are more capable in AI, so that AI does not create new kinds of inequalities. So that the AI is harnessed for the benefit of the human civilization. So we see India is taking a forefront. What is India's AI strategy? So India has its own AI mission, which is of the tune of 10,731 crore, and we have the initiative of making AI in India, making AI for India. It aims to democratize AI innovation, just as we discussed. What is democratization? Limiting that AI should be exclusively in hands of few MNCs or few countries. GPI, this is a multilateral body, whereas India is a founding member and lead chair in the 2024 GPI. Bridging AI divide. India is pushing for inclusive AI governance and ensuring AI benefits are shared equitably. Global South priorities. India is advocating empowerment of voices from the Global South in AI governance. India's AI mission. We have dealt a bit deeper here. The public-private partnership model is used here, and it is under the Ministry of Electronics and IT. This initiative aims to boost domestic AI development while cutting dependence on costly foreign hardware. So India will have to limit its critical dependence. Okay. Key components. What are the key components of the initiative? That is compute capacity. Compute capacity as if the processing. Then India AI Innovation Center, data sets. This will focus on quality data. AI application development initiative, future skills, skilling. Then we have startup financing and safe and trusted AI. This will again focus upon incubating startups in the AI and deep tech sector. And here they have mentioned what all are the avenues in which India-France relationship is expanding, and it is going beyond AI. So here they have economics of trade, and specifically Make in India, and collaboration on renewable energy, defense, startups, and critical minerals. Then we have tech innovation partnership, launching the India-France Innovation Year in 2026. TIP, this is an important initiative. New Indian consulate in Marseille. This is in France. This will strengthen people-to-people ties. India-France CEO Forum. This will encourage the relationship to go beyond state to state. Here we are creating collaboration between businesses of two countries. And triangular development cooperation. Triangular development means India-France jointly trying to develop projects and development projects in different countries. And here we see triangular cooperation between India, France, and the other country. This will be more focused upon SDGs. Now the conclusion is, the visit highlights India-France cooperation in AI, defense, trade, technology, and reaffirming strategic partnership in shaping the future. Here we have a MCQ practice question. Please do answer it and let us know in the comment box below. Now the last article for the day is, what has the budget offered scientist? So it focuses upon allocation and priorities in the union budget for the sector of science. So 20,000 crore allocated for private sector driven research, development and innovation initiatives in the budget. How is it relevant? It is relevant in the section of government schemes plus science and tech. There are many initiatives mentioned in this particular article which can become a question in themselves. So these initiatives are important, their outlay is important, their strategy, what kind of problems they want to solve, these become important. In this article, it is a broad and a macro article, and we will look at it like that only. So increased research and innovation funding. So 20,000 crore has been allocated for research and innovation under Department of Science and Technology, especially in deep tech and sunrise sector. What are deep tech? Deep tech is, for example, quantum. So what are sunrise sectors? These are sectors which are yet to be developed. For example, biomanufacturing. So these are sunrise sectors. What are sunset sectors? Which are saturated. For example, the traditional textile sectors. The textile sector based on cotton is a sunset sector, whereas geotextile as a sector is a sunrise sector because it has a scope of growth. So the research and innovation funding focuses on private sector participation to boost gene editing, personalized medicine and sustainable agriculture. The article mentions about National Geoportal and it was announced to improve spatial data availability. So there is a mission on geosciences and specifically the allocation for the mission has increased. So that is why this is in news. Then the objective is focused attempt to bring together academia, private sector, startups to work on national missions. So the architecture of the national missions in science and tech, you will see that there is national mission on quantum tech, national mission on green hydrogen, there is national mission on AI. So these are immediate missions. These focus on the priorities which are immediate in nature. So for that, there has been a focused attempt to bring academia, which does research, private sector, which has the flexibility to implement the initiatives faster, and the startups, which can again innovate and implement in unconventional ways. So we have to bring in all the resources together so that the goals of the mission are realized. Then the article mentions about India's biotech sector. It reflects the allocation, which is significantly higher, 51% higher than previous year's allocation. Then it mentions BioRide scheme. It is a scheme to foster innovation, promote bio-entrepreneurship and strengthen India's position as a global leader in biomanufacturing and biotechnology. Then the article mentions about National Mission on High Yielding Seeds. So this is important from agriculture plus tech. How biotechnology can improve agriculture productivity. Here the strengthening and research ecosystem and developing high yielding pest resistance and climate resilient seeds. Then it also mentions the contribution of self-reliance, how through missions on minor oil seeds. India is one of the largest importer of edible oils. So in this particular segment, this will cater to indigenization and Atmanirbharta in edible oils. Then the article mentions about BioE3, biotechnology for economy, environment and employment policy, fostering high performance biomanufacturing. So we will see that biomanufacturing is very important and biotechnology is one of the thrust areas. So we will prepare this sector in depth. Expansion of startup ecosystem. So it is said in the article that India raised 850 million in deep tech startups in 2023, showcasing a growing innovation trend. The 10,000 crore funds for startup introduced to enhance deep tech ecosystem focused on AI, biotech and space technology. So there is a special facility for deep tech startups. And the article also mentions about certain challenges with the article also mentions certain challenges which the budget provisions will create and what are the criticisms of the current budget. So one should have an overall whole approach towards preparation. What are the challenges? The importance of curiosity driven science doesn't seem to be a major priority, and much of the funding appears directed towards mission mode projects such as nuclear energy, AI, private sector initiatives. So funding for Indian Institute of Science and IISERs has been reduced. And new education policy recommends the expenditure on education to be 6% of the GDP, which requires at least 10% of the union budget to be spent on education. This year, the allocation is only 2.4%. So these are data points also. So this article is relevant from prelims as well as mains as well as interview point of view. So please use all these data and this analysis accordingly. Here again we have a practice question. Do answer this question and let us know the answer in the comment box below. That's all for today's discussion. I hope you must have liked the discussion and please let us know any feedback in the comment box below. Thank you. Yes.